And yeah, Kit Green was involved with that. He's the one that was doing those brain scans on people who were getting directed energy weapons, allegedly shot at them on Skinwalker Ranch. The guy that leaked that to me was one of the guards on Skinwalker Ranch, Chris Bartell. And
oh, really? He gave you this book?
Leaked it to me, and I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I never came public with that because I didn't know if it was disinformation they were trying to get me to run with, because I had come out with too much before that.
Sure.
They put me under surveillance. That came along with a PDF that had a virus on it, so I could only imagine they were trying to get access. Oh yeah, they were trying to get access to my computer. Yeah. So it's like, it's disinformation.
They put you under surveillance?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We went out to Mount Wilson Ranch, where Bustamante went out to.
Yeah.
And we went out with Carl Crusher, went out to the Mount Wilson Ranch. They tried to get me to kind of go along with their being let off in the left field with their stories. And
who brought you out there?
So I got the invite. So I released videos about the guys that were getting brain damage at Skinwalker Ranch. Bartell was one of them, but you had the guy, Tom Winterton, that was on the Search for Skinwalker Ranch show. Yeah. He came with the big goose egg on his head. I did a video on that, and it triggered the shit out of the people at Skinwalker Ranch. To this day, I re-released the video a couple months ago, and Brandon Fugel tried to do a big, damage control comment in the comments of that video because I released something they didn't want released. Okay. So then they wove in with a content creator from YouTube to contact me and say, hey, I'd love to do something with you. Come out, we can go to the Mount Wilson Ranch. I'm working with these guys. I didn't realize at the time that he was intimately working with Brandon Fugel at the time, who owns Skinwalker Ranch, talking to him all the time. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know the guy's history. This is Carl Crusher. Don't want to get into that relationship or anything, but we had to shut that down after some seedy stuff. But they had me go out to the ranch, and there was not a goddamn thing on the ranch. I did a lot of research into what was going on there with, there's a company that put the instrumentation in at Skinwalker Ranch, Sarah, Dr. Richard Dickout, and Dr. Tim Rinn, who were putting equipment on Skinwalker Ranch and Mount Wilson Ranch. Not equipment to monitor high strangeness, equipment to fuck with the human mind, non-lethal weapons and psychotronic weaponry. And it looked more and more to me like they had been experimenting on the staff at these ranches. And one of them was Chris Bartell. Well, I'm out there, and this pops up there. I woke up. We were all staying in Carl's house. I went outside, and they're looking at this on the computer, and it's like, what is this? And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll send you a copy of it, whatever. And they sent me a copy and it had a virus on it. And I go looking through it. It looks like it's 50-50 mixed, neuroscience that would hook me in with UFO shit that there is no way to validate whether or not that's real. But a lot of the stuff in that is like a mixture of names I could research and different things that could hook me in, and then the rest was I couldn't validate it, so I wouldn't release that. But I think they were hoping I would go along with it and push that out to the public and push that as like an MJ-12 paper disinformation piece.
Oh, wow.
And so I was getting played, realized it, and cut out of that. Met with the guys from History Channel on an expedition to that ranch, and it was like, this is not real. they're pushing nonsense here.
So what did you mean when you said they put you under surveillance?
Literally, they were watching all my social media, texting me constantly. Tried to put they had my phone numbers. I would get random texts and such when I put a video out to say like, hi, things like that. And it was coming from a Utah number. I'm like, okay.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, that's just games, just little games.
Interesting.
And it's going to take a lot more than that to shut me the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Skinwalker Ranch thing's super interesting.
Yeah.
They talk about that a little bit on the Mirage Men documentary.
Yeah, I watched that coming down on the flight. Actually.
Did you?
I rewatched it for you. I saw it years ago.
We talked about it on the phone when we first spoke.
Yeah.
But in that documentary, they claimed that they were basically, there was some sort of operation where they were doing subterranean nuclear blasts, trying to like frack for oil.
Yeah, Plowshare and Gas Buggy.
Right, yeah. Gas Buggy. I remember that one. And I guess they were trying to test for nuclear contamination in like the vegetation and the livestock. So they were trying to cut out specific glands of the cows. And people thought it was super freaky. It must be aliens. Plus they were doing test flights right over the same area, and they were seeing these crazy UFOs they'd never seen before, which was just like the CIA or the Navy doing like secret tests. So they thought, oh, crazy shit in the sky we've never seen. mutilated cows, must be aliens.
Yeah, that's
so it was like the perfect right place, right time psyop.
Yeah, I did a video about this cattle mutilations with showing the book by Com Kelleher, who was the guy that was the second in charge at Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know if when they were doing NIDS there.
Oh, okay.
So Com Kelleher was like their biologist that was working with Bigelow. And he did a book on, it's called Brain Trust, I believe, about mad cow disease. And he's got, most of it is about mad cow disease and CJD. And then there's a part in it about cattle mutilations, just magically in that book. You pull that up, Steve, too. It's called Brain Trust by Com Kelleher. And where he kind of drops the bomb about like, is cattle mutilation aliens, or is this people going out doing clandestine testing to find out if these have prions? You know, if you ate from that population, is it spreading throughout the natural population? When I went out with those guys, Chris Bartell actually told me about the nuclear testing, and I remember him telling me about the cow that has a window in the side. They put a plastic window on the side so you can see its organs at one of the museums. Yeah, they had a cow that like they were testing on, but it was like a public thing where you can go and just check out the cow, see that the cow was doing fine, that it hadn't been influenced by radiation, but it really had, and it was just part of a propaganda for that. But there's an aspect of that. I don't believe in the cattle mutilations, though I used to. I used to be terribly fascinated by it. The more I look at it, the more it looks like a black ops program. Yeah. Special forces guys coring out the assholes with bovines in the middle of the desert. And you're like, what a weird job to have. But it looks like they're testing for something, either radiation or prions or whatever it might be.
Okay, let's go back to let's go back to Kit Green and Jolly West. So Jolly West was Kit Green's mentor, you were saying?
So yeah, so apparently they were both like the life sciences guy within the CIA. So Christopher Kit Green is like, in my opinion, in my mind, he links in with all of this shit.
Doesn't Jacques Vallée talk about him a lot?
He does in Forbidden Science.
Oh, okay.
Linked in with UFOs, with psychic research, and everything you can imagine, up to and including like possible manufacturing of these things with GM. Okay, this
General Motors.
General Motors. This goes weird. This story goes weird. So, Kit Green of Michigan. I've done a lot of research on this guy. He was working with the CIA, working with Stanford Research during the continuation of the MK Ultra experiments. That was the Stanford Research remote viewing experiments. Jolly and West was part of the oversight committee for that with SAIC. And they were working together on that. Then somehow or another, it spins off into UFOs, and Kit Green getting involved with UFO groups that Bigelow was starting up, different things like that. They had the UFO working group, the Onion group, the secret Onion group that Jacques Vallée calls it. Colonel John Alexander was involved with that. All these guys were involved with that group. And it kind of spins into creating the entire mythology around UFOs to cover up for other things. Somehow or another, Kit Green retires from the CIA and goes off and works for General Motors Asia Division. Doing what? We don't know, but he's still involved with the UFO world. Coming back and then doing interference syndrome. You can actually look at the paper there of the brain scans of people who have been impacted by Havana syndrome, microwave weaponry, directed energy weaponry. That's what this is showing. It's showing brain damage that happens when people come into contact with the technologies that might be flying these, quote, UFOs around.
Right.
Not alien technology, human technology that they just didn't do full testing on. He's establishing the ICD-10 code so that they could do medical billing on veterans that have been damaged by this stuff.
Wow.
Establishing what the actual criteria for, this is an actual injury that comes from directed energy. And doing the brain scans on it. And
this is what Kit Green's doing.
Kit Green and Gary Nolan.
Nolan.
He's side by side. Apparently this was like a joint thing that they did.
Wow. Yeah, so Gary was tied to this whole thing about the basal ganglia being dense with neurons, means you can see ghosts.
Caudate putamen.
Yeah,
they talk all about it in the paper.
Oh, okay.
And that goes back to earlier.
And this is hereditary?
It is, yeah, it's genetic, but it can atrophy under certain conditions, what they show in the paper. And the original doctor that found that supposedly was Dr. Shafika Karagala, who was, she was working with the MK Ultra group up at McGill University in Canada, and she's George Norrie's aunt.
Who's?
George Norrie from Coast to Coast AM.
Wow.
And his aunt, Shafika Karagala, Dr. Shafika Karagala, was a neuroscientist, and she apparently found that initial link between psychic ability and the Kadi Pitaman being hyper-innervated. Yeah. And she did that with a woman named Viola Petit-Neal. And if you'd like, we're going to republish their books.
Really?
There you go. Yeah.